Hi guys, if you're joining. Sorry if I'm not saying much. I'm trying to concentrate here, getting these gearboxes right. So if you can hear me, just pop a comment in the live chat, because sometimes the audio goes a bit weird on these live streams. sure if I can flip the everything's in reverse. Let's see if I can flip the camera over. Don't think I can. Well, we'll have to just do our best with what we've got here. So. Can you guys hear me okay? Sounds good. Okay, thank you very much. I've done live streams in the past where I've gone the whole live stream and realised that the microphone isn't working, so I've been talking and no one can hear me. So I thought I'm going to be sat here building these gearboxes anyway because I've got to get them done. So why not shove the webcam on, and if anybody's got any questions about the service or the platform, I'll do my best to answer. Used to use a streaming software, I think it was Streamlabs, but it's been a while since I've done any live streaming, so I thought let's just try the YouTube dashboard and see if that works okay. So it's not going to be the most riveting content ever, but you know, we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. This is Silverback. Love to put the springs on the wrong way on every single rifle. Right, let's give this gearbox a test. Nice and smooth. So 1 down, 5 to go. This is actually going in number 510. We do have some other bits to finish this customers off. Because we've also Cerakoted his receiver in cobalt, so the customer's going for a greyish black colour scheme. If we could pop that back in the top. These are a bit of a pain to get back in. And we just need to put his front bracket back on, so a bit of finger gymnastics here. Gonna need the correct torque bit. Yeah, the receiver quality is not bad at all. They've obviously used an aluminium extrusion. The quality of the machining isn't bad at all. So if they do have QC issues, which these MDRs do, it's not with the receivers. Can be a bit of a pain to put these front brackets back on. But yeah, the rifles themselves, as you know, a platform to work on, they're actually made and designed really well. It's just their QC of the gearboxes which is bad, and their QC on a few other parts. But the gearboxes, they're not shimming them to the gearbox and to the individual gear. You know, I've done tons of these gearboxes now, and every single gearbox has the exact same shims in the exact same place. So, you know, for example, obviously this is not the sizes that they're using, but just as an example to you guys, that they take the sector gear and they put two 0.1 mil shims under that. Same with the spur gear, and then on the bevel gear they put quite a thick shim at the bottom. I'll probably say about 0.5, and put a 0.1 mil shim on the top, and they just do that on every gearbox. So they're not shimming the gearboxes individually, they're just literally fitting the same part over and over again on a production line. So it's probably the reason why they've run into such an issue with them. Okay, so we're one down. This is number 510. The lowest number I've done so far in terms of serial number is number 10, which is 000010, which was a personal rifle of Jason's at Longbow. So let's see who's the next victim. So victim number 2 is 380. These are packaged up crudely, but there's a reason for that. I just try and keep everything separately. So might the holder you just screwed in be the beta build or machine new to fix your wobbly issue? No, I've tried. I've actually put a video up on the YouTube channel where I've already tried someone else's bracket and it didn't fix the issue. So I think it might be the lower receiver, or there's a terrible QC issue somewhere that just can't be solved. So this is a very crude way of me storing them, but with being sent so many gearboxes, this is just the easiest way to keep everything individual, keep all the, you know, the bearings and the shims correct to that serial number as well. I do have part storage boxes, but ran out of those very quickly. So if it's not in a part storage box, it goes in one of these envelopes, which are the way they're sent to me from Longbow. And then just to keep all the bits together, just use a bit of tape. It just stops anything, if anything's being moved, it stops any parts coming loose and being lost. So it's just a very safe way of keeping everything in one place. If I was just doing a handful of gearboxes, I probably wouldn't do it this way because I'd have space to set the gearboxes out and they wouldn't be touched. But when you're getting sent, you know, 10, 20 gearboxes at a time, it's it can get very confusing. So it's a crude system, but the system works. Fresh new casing. So the bearings are a bit of a pain to get sat back in the gearbox. They are very tight, and some of them are very loose as well, so we're going to tap these bearings into place. I've got a driver here that's got a machined front face, so it sits nice and straight on the bearing. And it just makes sure they go in nice and flat. So you see, same two shims on the sector gear. And the same two shims under the spur gear as well. It's always the same, there's no variance. Which, you know, would say that Silverback have built the gearbox to such a tolerance that they can use the same shims, but if they can build the gearbox to such a tolerance, why can't they get the gears right? I'm assuming it's just a lack of working on these gearboxes. They do a lot of spring rifles and they tend to be fine. But, you know, the science is a little bit different when you're using electronics and gearboxes, so. That's nice and smooth. There's a little bit of play in the sector gear, and the tiniest amount of play in the spur, but honestly, it's such a minimal amount of play. I mean, we could probably put a small shim on the sector gear. Let's do that first. And I was getting through so many of these shims that I've had to have them manufactured, because, you know, there are shops out there that sell the little shim packages from various different manufacturers, but for what you're paying and what you get in the packet, it's just a bit outrageous. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add that to the bottom. So yeah, I had the shims manufactured to my specification, and I might offer them on the store for those wanting to buy them. So it's still nice and smooth, and there's no play in the gear now, so that's good. So those of you watching will notice that I always start with the spur, then the bevel, get the play right, get them nice and meshed, and spaced evenly, and then I'll go on to the bevel gear, and you'll see they've been machined. So hoping the camera will focus here. Might not want to. It's nice and shiny. There's no silverback markings or anything like that on the gear anymore. So we'll add the factory thick shim. That will go on there. Usually, as a rule, I'll add a 0.3. If I can grab one, they are thin. Grab a 0.3, pop that on the bottom there. Bearing's a bit tight in the casing. There we go. A little bit of play in that gear, so I'm going to take that up. Put another shim on the bottom there. So it's nice and smooth. Then what I'll do usually is situate the gear like that. Take the spring off the motor, and then I just test the mesh. So as long as the motor doesn't sit up like this, usually pretty good. That seems okay to me. So let's add some lubricant. Let's pop the two gears out, making sure the shims stay in place. If that light's a bit bright for you, let me know and I'll try and move it out. So you'll hear the anti-reversal latch click now. And just like with Sistemas, we want to make sure that the gear isn't sat proud. Otherwise, it's going to cause us an issue when we try and fit the cylinder later on. So once that's done, we can fit the motor and the motor bracket. Like so. We've got the MOSFET board, 3 screws, we'll go the motor wires. No PCB jumper on this one, so when we test it, it might act a little bit weird. The T238 motor, not too sure. Haven't used one before, so not sure how good or bad they are. Now we're going to move on to the cylinder. So this spring is on correctly, tight coils at the back. If they are a bit difficult to take apart, what I do is pop it into the gearbox. That just gives me something to push against, like so. Because they can be a bit awkward to hold. Slightly over tighten those, but yeah, they sound bad, but like I was saying earlier, that they're all shimmed exactly the same. So they're not shimming the gearboxes like I'm shimming the gearboxes, where you test each gear and you pop a new shim in and you either lift the gears up or down. They're literally fitting the exact same shims to the exact same gears. So they're just production lining it and going, right, this is how it's going to be every single time, which makes you think that they trust in their overall quality control and that their tolerances and they've got the design down to a T, but it's actually really bad, which means every gearbox is bad. And I have had quite a few people send me videos of the gearboxes working, and they've been worked on and they've been shimmed and they sound horrendous. And it's like that gearbox is not right. And I think it's just a case of having done and built gearboxes for so many years. You know, my ears kind of trained for it, but this is why the service, I decided to offer it. And I honestly didn't think that when I offered the service, so many people would take me up on it. I thought maybe every now and again I'd get a gearbox in, like the rest of the sort of technical work I receive. And then was just completely blown away. So I get sent gearboxes, and then I'll get batches from Longbow, and Jason will send me a bunch of gearboxes as well. And it's almost becoming full-time occupation. And the only real time I get to work on these is on a weekend. So I've limited now the batches. So I've done one already. This is number 2. I've got 6 to do. And that's just today's batch of gearboxes. I do them in batches of 6 now, just because it's easier to manage. I did do a batch not long ago that was a batch of 12, and you'll see from those that were watching on the first gearbox, this cushion is fixed to the cylinder head, and a lot of them aren't, and they come off. I'll take the gearboxes apart, and these cushions will be loose, so they just haven't pressed them on properly. But yeah, doing the batch of 12, it was overwhelming. It was, you know, a few too many to do at one time. But I had to catch up. I had to catch up with the backlog. Because it's not just MDRs I get sent. I'm being sent a lot of AAPs at the moment, which is probably because I did a video series on the Action Army AAP. I get sent a lot of MWSs as well. So we don't want to go overboard with this. We just want enough to squash them in each of these tight corners. Yeah, the angle of the motor, it's not really the angle of the motor, it's where the motor sits to the gear. It's just off, which is why I machine the gears so we can shim them slightly higher, which moves them out the way of the bevel gear. I did have one in the last batch that had a bad pinion, and just nothing I could do could get it to mesh properly, so I ended up having to swap the pinion out to another manufacturer pinion gear, and that seemed to fix the issue. But yeah, a lot of silly mistakes. I've had gearboxes where the gearbox screws are not even like a couple of turns in. I've had gearboxes where there's shims loose in the gearbox. I've had gearboxes where there's that much grease to the point where you'd like almost be kind of like hydrolocking the gearbox or slowing it down, if that makes sense. I've had cylinders where, obviously this isn't the Silverback, this would probably be the end user, but gearboxes where they've used grey gear grease in the cylinder. It's better than nothing, but it's just not the right type of lubricant, to be honest. And, you know, working on these MDR gearboxes just seemed to coincide really well with the one pens that I released. So, and this lubricant is perfect for this gearbox and the MDR because you can use it, excuse me, in every part of it. So you can use it on the O-rings, you can use it on the cylinder, you can use it on the gears. This stuff is fantastic. And you can use it with any gearbox in that way, any gas blowback, any spring rifle, GBBs, you name it. So just pop this back together. Just to pre-warn you, there's no PCB jumper on here, and I'm not sure how charged this battery is, so it could play up a little bit, but it's not a fault of the gearbox. It's probably just because the PCB jumper isn't on there. I'm not sure how the audio is going to come out on this camera. The microphone is quite close, but yeah, so it's acting a bit weird, and that's just because the PCB jumper's not on there. See how it's doing a half cock? And that's literally just for that reason. So if I take the battery off, if I pull the PCB jumper off of the last gearbox we did, and we pop it on there, you watch this fix the issue now. See, it resets every single time. And, you know, they say that this PCB jumper is battery protection, but honestly, it makes no sense why they've done it. Because the guns, even with fresh batteries, perform like junk unless you've got that jumper on there. So let's pop this back onto number 510. Thank you, 510. And this is gearbox number 380. So, you know, this is going to go back to the longbow. We've obviously got the serial numbers. These all need to be etched, which I'll do laser etching in my own time just because the machine's really loud. And nothing could be going on camera. So I'll do all those afterwards. That's 380. Comments. I'll get mine from Germany to UK and I get me. Yeah, that's fine. I'm getting sent them from the Netherlands at the moment. So there are, you know, international customers. I hear a lot of these stories. On paper, it seems great, but I'm still hesitating to buy it. So always install the PCB. Yeah, always install the PCB jumper. Do not run the gearbox without it. But you are going to have to be, if it is a battery protection feature, you are going to have to, you know, keep an eye on your batteries. So when you're firing it, if the gun's slowing down, if it's getting a bit sluggish, just pull the battery out and swap it over. You don't want to run it on a lower battery anyway. Still hesitating to buy it. I mean, the only real thing that I haven't been able to fix on my MDR is the receiver wobble. And if you are a consumer, so if you're just a normal customer, I am perhaps a little bit more laid back with it because I understand I'm from the industry, so I'm giving them time, even though both Silverback and Land Warrior haven't got back to me on my issue. Giving them a bit of time to fix it, but if you're a consumer and you buy one of these MDRs and it's got the receiver wobble, best thing I can say to you is send it back and reject it. If you do get an MDR and it doesn't have the receiver wobble, then I would not say hesitate to buy one. I would just either find someone who is very capable of doing the modifications that I've covered for a long time now, or, and it does sound like a sales pitch, but honestly it's not, just get the gearbox to me and I'll sort it. I have worked on a few of these gearboxes that have gone to, you know, airsoft techs, and I use that term lightly with the with the quotation marks because they're still horrendous. It's just people that don't understand what the issue is and how to fix it. So, grab another one. Next victim is number 1698. So, and I am logging. I'm keeping a data log of everything I experience with each serial number. But yeah, going back to your question, there are a lot of you know, platforms out there where you won't have such issues, and those platforms are a bit more run-of-the-mill. So, you know, this platform is still new. It's a new design. Don't get me wrong, they've literally ripped off a Sistema PTW for the way the cylinder works, but it is a new design. And ergonomically, the rifle is very good. It performs and handles well in terms of how you grip it and how you use it. I really do like it, and that's the whole reason why I've covered so many things on the MDR and you know, sort of offered this service for the end user. So really struggling to get this started here. So I wouldn't normally support a platform unless I you know, I believed in the product. And I really do hope Silverback pull it back and, you know, address the issues, because it would be sad for them to just bury their heads in the sand and just, you know, leave everybody in the lurch. Really went to town with the tape on this one. But that's another reason I didn't, I don't, my videos are getting a fair bit of views now, which is nice. And I didn't expect, I've done live streams in the past on the old channel. And even with that channel having like 40,000 subscribers, I never, ever got much viewership on my live streams. So I wasn't expecting, a lot of viewers on this live stream. But I just thought, while I'm building the gearboxes, if anybody drops on the video that is looking for information on the MDR, I can answer their questions. So going back to what I said before, this is another gearbox. Let's see how many shims we've got on the bottom of here. 1 and 2. And that's the same in every gearbox. Let's check the sector gear. Let's take the bottom off. 1 and 2. It's 2 shims. It's exactly the same. They're consistently not shimming them properly. So, I'd be more than happy to help Silverback as well. I think they're only in France, aren't they? They could hit me up at any moment and say, we'll fly you out. Come and tell us what we need to do. Some of these bearings are so tight. Let me tap this in. We want that one. See, that's how they should go in. They should just push straight in. They have used really nice bearings as well. NSK, Japanese bearings. It's a good choice. They've gone and picked probably like one of the highest quality bearings they can use. Sure, it's nice and flush, which it is. So yeah, tend to go off on a tangent. You'll have to stop me if I start babbling. That 2 shims on the spur, it does spin it nice and smooth. 2 shims on the sector gear. Let's pop the bearing on. Let's check for play. Sector gear 0. That gear's shimmed. Even though they use the same shims on each gearbox, that one is acceptable. There's a bit of play in the spur. So probably get away with shimming that a bit tighter. So we're going to use a very thin shim, 0.1s. And, you know, when they were shimming the gearboxes, they could have done that test and just thought, you know, we can get this a little bit better. Why not? But they obviously chose not to. Have I contacted them with my findings? I have spoke to Silverback. I sent them an email when I first had my trouble with the loose receiver. And they just told me to speak to the retailer, you know, typical response. You speak to the retailer and they tell you to talk to Silverback. So you're going backwards and forwards and no one wants to deal with you. But I don't think Silverback took me seriously. I mean, you know, it's a shame on them really, but let's see if I can nail this without even trying it. So we'll see how good my machining skills are. We're going to go for 0.3 and a 0.1. And we will see how good this sits. Need to push that bearing in. Retail should not do to manufacture. They usually have pretty strict support chain, both airsoft and other countries. Yeah, I know. It might have just been the wrong person talking to me, but they said, have you spoke to Silverback? I said yes. And, you know, no one's followed up. No one's asked, you know, or updated me with what's going on with my sort of warranty issue. But I wasn't, to be honest with you, I wasn't holding my breath. If you've watched my previous videos and my experience with my TAC 41, look at that. I've machined that gear on a manual machine and done it. I knew the shimming before I even did the gearbox, and it's within less than 0.1 millimeters. So I didn't have high hopes for them sorting my issue out. And, you know, the gearbox issue can be fixed. Yes, you've got to get it to someone like myself. But let's just check here. But, you know, if I was an end consumer and I didn't have the bits and pieces that I needed to correct these issues, I would just get it to someone that knew what they were doing, or has a better understanding of that issue. So the gearbox is ready. And I will get contacted every now and again by, like I said, I was saying earlier, airsoft techs saying they've done this issue or that issue, and they're updating me with what they're finding, and that's absolutely brilliant. And I also get told a lot by people what I should be doing that may not even have come across an MDR or even use one, but they want to tell me how to do my job. Which is funny sometimes, and I think they're just trying to back Silverback up. But I've done a lot of these gearboxes now, and every single one's been the same. If it was a one-off, and, you know, 1 in 10 or less were bad, then yeah, you'd probably think, okay, so it's just a couple. But every single gearbox is the same. It could be solved by machine the bevel gear. Would a possible fix be just offer a pre-machine bevels for sale or find an aftermarket bevel that's thinner? That is a solution I've looked into. Excuse me. And I looked into this with Jason at Longbow, to see. And my question was, can we just buy the bevel gears from Silverback? Can they just sell us the gears? We'll machine them and we'll sell them, you know, already done, ready to go. I don't think that was a possibility, because they'll only sell the gears in sets of 3, apparently, which is just a waste. You could go and get a bevel gear from a different manufacturer. I looked into this as well, but most people want to sell you the 3 gears. They don't want to sell you them individually. And the other option was, you know, people just send the bevel gears, I'll machine the bevel gears and ship them back out. So there are a lot of things that I've tried or looked into. And I thought, you know what, to really get this right, it needs to be all done at the same time. And I know there's many people out there that are capable of doing it themselves. They just probably don't have access to a lathe. But each gearbox is measured and done to the gearbox. That's why when I looked through my notes on this one, I was pretty sure I needed about 0.4 millimeters added to that gear. And when it went together perfectly. So there's that measuring, machining the gear to that, and then getting that sorted. And also what you get with the this is why I took it to the next level and thought, all right, I'll offer it as a service, and is the sole reason why all of the gearbox casings are ceramic coated. So all the gearbox casings are cerakoted, and the reason for that is nobody can replicate my work or try and imitate it. There's been a lot of times in the past years where I've done certain things, or, you know, covered certain platforms, and you get a lot of copycats, and you also get a lot of people claiming that you've done some work that you perhaps haven't. And I know this is a thing with like the PTWs. You can get them, send them to Tackleberry, he'll work on them, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, it's been to Tackleberry, it's had this and the other, and it might not have been. So the gearbox comes to me, it gets all measured and everything like that. That gets machined off where the Silverback logo is. So that gets taken off. So that's the first thing. So you've got a machining process there. Then you've got a machining process on the gear itself. So that's 2 machining processes, both manual. And then you have to strip the gearbox, then I coat it, then it comes to here. We tune it, we get the shimming right, it goes together. We tune the service the cylinder as well, because they do have a few issues with the cylinders in terms of just over greasing, or not enough grease, or not the right type of grease. And then the gearbox goes under a machine, and you get my logo, you get the serial number, so it matches the serial number to your rifle, and then you get a date of when the gearbox was built. And I think all that, and, you know, some people have said, oh, it's expensive at £80. But when you think about it and the time and stuff that goes into them, it's really not. You know, if I could do this service and charge more for it, I would, because at the end of the day, it's time spent that I'm not, you know, relaxing or, you know, taking a bit of time off. It needs to be worth all that effort of doing it. So, but yeah, sorry to go off on a tangent. It's I don't think it's massively expensive either. With things today like Cerakote, the coating isn't cheap. Manual labour on machining isn't cheap. Engineer fee. I mean, I normally charge 60 quid engineer fee for any type of gearbox work. So you send me a rifle that's got a problem. Let's say one of your gears is broke, or it needs a service. The engineer fee is £60. So when you think an extra £20 and you get all this, the only reason it's done at such a lower price is because I do them in batches. So I'll prepare 6, 12 gearboxes at a time. I'll do them in a batch, and that's what, you know, makes it cost effective. So sorry to rant on there. You can obviously tell that I get moaned at a lot about the price. Sounds like you do more than just fixing a bevel height then. £80 seems about right. The service offered requires significant tooling. It does. You know, a lathe isn't cheap, a milling machine isn't cheap. All the equipment to Cerakote, I mean, I do offer Cerakote anyway. And for those of you that weren't here before, this customer had his receiver Cerakoted, so this has been done in cobalt. He's going for a grey and a black theme. And, you know, this will be a service up on the website as well, just for the receivers at the moment, not the plastics, because I don't know how they're going to react to the curing process. Do you accept international gearbox services? Yes, I've got a couple coming from the Netherlands already, I think. Did you find a solution to precisely cap off each end and block portholes and cylinder to coat that as well? Kind of, yes. But again, I did it on mine. I do have my cylinder somewhere because I've swapped out to the 100% cylinder, which again, it's something I'd recommend doing. It just makes sense. It doesn't matter whether you're running a short barrel, long barrel. You want more air, especially when you're shooting heavy PBs. But yeah, I've looked at things to cap off that, and I did have a customer send me some 3D printed things, but at the moment it's not quite there at the minute. So I need to rotate this gearbox. Are you looking at establishing yourself longer term as an MDR-X service center or grey center? I would say so. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. It would be nice to get something from Silverback in terms of almost like a stamp of approval. I think if they were somehow, you know, going through my videos and looking at what I do, and they can go through the website and look at the services on there, whether or not they'd want the liability of supporting a third-party service, probably not. But it would be nice to have like an official stamp. As you'll see, I'm very capable of doing it. So an MDR-X service center would be nice. What would a service center sort of entail, though? But they're probably tied up in a UK distributor already. Yeah, probably. They do have a few distributors. So I know they work with Longbow. They're also working with Land Warrior. I know Fire Support, I think, bring Silverback stuff in as well. So we shall see. It could just be a thing that the UK distributors sort of get in line with it, maybe. I mean, I'm getting a lot of gearboxes now. I think if more shops jumped on the bandwagon, it would get out of hand pretty quick. But you've also got to think as well, you know, Jason at Longbow was the first person to sort of get in touch with me and start dealing and sort of collaborating on the Silverback MDR. So I don't think it would be right then say, well, okay, I'm going to go deal with this company as well. So as long as that relationship stays the way it is, I've got no problem with dealing just with Longbow at the moment, and obviously offering it as a service through Jaeger Precision as well. Do you change and install 100% cylinder if it gets sent to you as well? Yeah, if you want the cylinders fitted as well, it's really easy. So let me grab. This is the packaging for the 100% cylinder. So that's my old one, and you'll see you just get a bit of bleed through with the Cerakote. I'm not sure, you'll see it there on the threads, and it doesn't really matter because it goes on so thin and the cylinder still performed amazing. And the way I coated this one is I put something inside it that was inflated. So I think I used like a thick rubber latex glove put it inside, inflated the glove, and it kind of blocked everything off, but it wasn't quite there. So yeah, if you want the 100% cylinder fitting, that could easily be done at the same time. It wouldn't change the price at all, because you just literally got to take this cylinder apart anyway. So you'd just be taking it out and putting it in the new one. If they deal with those, it means they take on dealers direct, not a distributor. It might be worth hitting them up. Yeah, you know, never say never, but I think I've always stood by those that have stood by me first. And those of you that know my history of creating, obviously, Bespoke Airsoft, when I created Bespoke Airsoft, a lot of companies, well, say a few companies didn't want me there. So setting up Bespoke at the start, I was having my accounts pulled off me. I know this is like old news now, but you know, distributors were closing my accounts because other retailers had got in touch. And when all that was happening, there was one UK wholesaler that stuck by me. And when they were sort of told to not deal with me, they basically told these people to you know, sod off. And that's what installed a really strong relationship. And, you know, further down the line, after Bespoke had been open for a few years, I actually ended up partnering with that wholesaler, and that's when we took Bespoke Airsoft into the next sort of evolution, and that's when Bespoke became quite successful. Obviously, I'm not part of Bespoke anymore. I made a bit of a life choice to sort of step aside, and I'd still do Jaeger Precision, and my sort of prominence in the industry would still be there. I'd still enjoy doing things like this, but I also get a normal job alongside that as well. So are there any parts you see that would make sense to make for the MDR-X? I have looked at perhaps doing a next stage of this package. So have the Jaeger Precision tuning service and have this done, or have like an ultimate package and have different motor, all new steel gears maybe. Obviously the cylinder, we can't really do much with that apart from, you know, the springs, and then do barrel and hop and everything on the rifle as well as Cerakoting the receiver. So that's something I might look into in future. But again, it's early days. Hi, Alistair. Didn't know you had a hand in Bespoke Airsoft. What you say is typical for airsoft industry. Yeah, I had a hand in it. I created Bespoke Airsoft. It started with me. And those that followed my journey know what happened and why it happened. But yeah, it's a much simpler existence for me now, because I'm back working in a family business. You know, I work so many days a week. When I get to the end of the day, I can switch off. I don't have to worry about anything at all before I go in the next day. And with Bespoke, you just, when you're running your own business like that, you can't switch off. It's always 100% of your time. Even when I was trying to sleep, you know, you've got things bothering you, customer issues or supply issues, and it's always in the back of your mind. So was it easy walking away from Bespoke Airsoft? No, it was probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But I am better and healthier for it. So, and you know, if I hadn't have, I mean, silver linings and everything, if I hadn't have left, perhaps this wouldn't have become a thing. So I think the only thing that annoyed me so much was handing over the YouTube channel, because I spent a lot of time gaining a viewer base, you know, subscribers and people that tune in to see you because of the content you create. And when that unfortunately had to be sort of taken away, weirdly enough, it was probably one of the things that affected me most about the business. And, you know, it's sad to see that all that hard work creating a channel that, you know, gained 40-odd thousand subscribers just gets handed off to someone else. And I just didn't see why anybody would stay subscribed to it, because the content was no longer obviously what I was preparing for it. But, you know, that's just life and how things work. Probably sound like a broken record sometimes, but, you know, if we don't say it, we boil it up inside, don't we? So a nice bit of lubricant on this piston. The ultimate thing sounds amazing. Well, when I've got a bit more information, I'll probably offer it. I need to do a lot of testing. I need to speak to manufacturers about OEM in parts like gears, you know, picking a motor maybe, and there's plenty of time for that, of course. I can imagine what you went through. I was self-employed. Yeah, it's not hard. It's not anybody that's been self-employed I've got mad respect for, because it is not, it's not easy. What I'm trying to say, I'm mincing my words up there. It's definitely not easy. You know, you don't have that security of someone else keeping tabs on you. It's, you know, you are where the book ends, and if you don't have a successful self-employed career, then, you know, you're up shit's creek without paddle, aren't you? But recognizing one's own type of personality, some people tend to keep tasks in their head outside 9 to 5. Yeah, well, like I say, I've got the 9 till 5. I'm back in another skilled trade, different industry. It's back in the motor industry, but you know, I've got another skilled trade under my belt, and that's something I can always have there or fall back on. And, you know, if something in that job did go badly, I can take that skilled trade and literally become self-employed straight away again. So it's quite a technical job as well. But it's nice. Like, I don't switch off after 5. Like, I'm always thinking about something, more so creating content videos. I have like an unhealthy obsession with airsoft as well. So I've always got somewhere to channel it. It's just nice channeling it somewhere where it's enjoyable rather than it being like a bit of a task. That and my commute, if you didn't know, I used to drive 300 miles a day to get to work. So it was 150 miles there and 150 miles back. So each day I was spending 6 hours just on traveling to work. And that's just because Bespoke moved from where it was here in the Midlands and it went down into near London. So it was quite a transition. Let's test this gearbox now, make sure it's okay. Before I plug that on, we need to put the trigger ball on. Right. Another smooth, silky gearbox. So that is number 1698. I don't know why the camera's reversed. Perhaps because it's a webcam. It's really annoying. But yeah, if I'm not doing, you know, something airsoft based like this, I'm always talking about it or discussing it. We all have to have our vices, I suppose. This one's 2698. Yeah, I'm not sure why the web camera's done this. Perhaps because it thinks it would be facing me and it flips the image. But it would be nice to get like a proper, like everything here is backwards horizontally. So if anyone of you know, tech savvy know that how to do it, I'm all ears. Pop this gear out here. Oh, this was a rush solution to a short-term problem using this tape, but it did keep everything safe. Let's see here. Just going to put some music on very low in the background. I'm not sure if you guys will hear this. If you do, I apologize. You have to let me know if you hear that music and I'll turn it off. How many gearboxes have you done now? Whew. Last week was a batch of 12. This week's a batch of 6. 18, 20, 24. It's got to be about 30. So you got to remember that 30 has happened in a very short period of time, because in the beginning I was getting like 1 or 2, and then all of a sudden load started to flip the camera and put a mirror over it. Okay, so point it the other way. If I had a mirror, then that's what I would do. The only other thing I can think of is flipping it round. Right. So yeah, it's got to be about 30. I do have a lot of on the Jaeger Precision on the Facebook page, the website. I have a blog post where I was keeping track of numbers, like serial numbers, and the issues that they were having. And I've got so much data to add to that. So I think I only did like 3 or 4, and then just got super busy. Oh God, these are tight. So yeah, I've got a lot of data to upload on that blog post. But you're seeing the same issues every time. Bad gear, poor shimming, over-greased, under-greased, wrong grease, loose cylinder heads, over-tightened cylinder heads, loose gearbox screws, bad bevel gears. And it's quite common stuff, so it's happening on pretty much every gearbox. Thanks, Alistair. I was going to put a video up tonight, and I thought, well, either rush through and get a video out, or perhaps try a live stream, because I'm going to be sat here doing this anyway. And because I thought, well, when I haven't got a video to go, because I've been doing a video every day since I think June last year. So it's just a video every day. There might have been 1 or 2 times where the scheduling on YouTube was wrong, and even though I scheduled it, because I work into the night, it'll get to like 12 o'clock midnight, and YouTube will schedule it for the next day. So I'll schedule it thinking it's the next day, but we've already rolled over to the next day because it's past midnight and it's done it the day after, and it's just a mistake. But that's the only thing that's messed up, the content not going out every single day. And, I get home like everyone else does from work, and I come straight into the office, and I either start working on videos, or I start work on guns for people. So same 2 shims on the sector. Every gearbox is the same. And was that there's 2 shims on there as well. I can get this bloody shim off. Yeah, same 2 shims. So hi Brian, how are you doing? Brian is another long-time customer and bless him, supports everything that I do. How are you doing, Brian? Oh, first one that's tight. It's notchy. And the bearing's off. First notchy gearbox. Let's get this cleaned up. In fact, first we'll isolate what's the issue. So let's try the spur. Spur's fine. And let's try sector. One of these gears is not playing nice, so and they both spin nice, so there's something caught in one of the teeth somewhere. Let's clean these teeth. First one that's tight, notchy. Hi, George. Long time no speak, eh, George? Can you stop being so busy, please? I need my servicing done. Well, it's just one of them things. You can get your servicing done, Brian. You just need to get the guns over to me. We need to find out why this one has a notch. So make sure, see if we've got any swarf or something in one of the teeth. It's always a possibility. But, you know, it's nice to find a new issue rather than the same issue in every gearbox from Silverback. Right, let's have you out. There's a bit of metallicness in that one, so we'll give it a scrape, see if we find anything. If it's not this, then it's one of the bearings that's out of true. There's a bit of blue plastic there I've just pulled out. Right, let's see if that's made any difference. Silverback would say it's notch there. Nice one. Silverback would probably bury their heads in the sand and not reply. These gears just might be too tightly shimmed together, I think. Yeah. We need to find the issue. Where is the issue? That bearing's in. This one might be off. Be there in 30 minutes. In case anyone's wondering, my laptop barrels. He's on about my lap barrels. Thanks, Brian. I think what we'll do. And see, this is again is an issue where Silverback have put the exact same shims in the exact same place on the exact same gears, and they're completely unaware that there's an issue. But we're going to find it. We are going to find it. Ah, there we go. That, my friends, is the difference. No more of that spinning and it just stops. And Silverback would have known that if they'd have done their job properly. So, problem solved. Let's check for tolerance in the gears. This one actually seems really good for side-to-side movement. Now we need to look at the bevel. Another nicely machined bevel. And pop this bearing in. For the tie bearing. There we go. Pop this in. Take the motor. And that sits nice in there. So without them being machined, what happens is you put the gear in with no shim on, you push the motor in and it goes whoop, and it just sits up like that. It just means that this mesh, the key is this mesh is too tight. And by machining the gear, this, instead of sitting like that, can move down to where it's meant to be. And, you know, although a lot of that we can fix with machining and we can move the tolerance much, move the setting down and much more into place, into tolerance, you can't get it 100% right because the gearbox casing just doesn't allow it. There's only so much meat you can remove from these gears before you start having an issue. So, but we do get them pretty much bob on. I would like another 0.5 mil to play with, but unfortunately Silverback just hasn't given it to us. So we're going to guess the shimming on this one again. So let's go with a 0.2. So 0.2 and a 0.1. So we'll see if I can get this right this time. So that gives us a total of a 0.3. It gives us the opportunity to pull one out if it's too tight. And I've picked up an extra shim from somewhere. Is that a 1? I think it's a 1. Let's see if we can nail it. So here we go. check the side-to-side movement. Within 0.1 of a mil. So there you go. You know, each gearbox is measured. It gets measured. The gear gets machined to that tolerance, and then I can literally fit the shims and the gearbox be perfect. So if that isn't proof in the pudding, I don't know what is. So yeah, we are good to go. Let's pull this out. And add some lubricant. Yeah, I can imagine they do shim them to a preset setting, but your design and tolerance have got to be in line with that. Otherwise, each one is going to be consistently bad. And then a person in charge of it's based on QC of an instruction change, shim setting is needed. They're meant to have a shim setting that works in the gearbox. Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. You are correct. Not sure if this light's like whitewashing the desk. You'll have to let me know if it is. Nice clicks. You can actually run these gearboxes without that anti-reversal latching, as long as you're not pre-cocking. You know, I took mine out and ran it for probably like a few days, just picking it up and firing it every now and again. And every single time, credit where credit is due, the active braking on this thing is very, very good. It will always stop the gearbox in the right place unless you're not using the PCB jumper, and then the gearbox does this weird thing where it half cycles. So let's put this back on. 1 and 2. Whoop. It is, but not where you're working. Oh, okay, so not where I'm working. It's not too bad. I would like to set up the live to run from the workbench where I normally do stuff, but the workbench being much higher, and I don't have a correct chair for it, so I'm always standing. I just tend to get a bit of achiness in the back from like leaning over it for so long. Especially the other week when I had to do 12 of these in a row. It really took its toll on me. Oh, it was not an enjoyable experience at all, but I got the work done. And all those gearboxes, 10 of them went to Jason, a Longbow, and 2 of them went to 2 of my customers as well. There we go. Gearboxes put together. Let's have this apart. Is the spring in the wrong way? No, this one's actually not so bad. Look at all that. Ridiculous. Really is like a horrible, I don't even know what this stuff is. It's really sticky. It's not, you know, slippy at all. You've nailed it on the piston though. It's nicely greased. Just pop this out of the way. Let's get all this gunk out of the cylinder. Like if your grease is building up here and in certain areas of the gearbox, if it's building up to such a degree, you're putting too much in. If you do have one of these MDRs, I'll tell you what, you've got to get the tool. It will make your life so much easier. I've actually thought about making these because these aren't an expensive part to make at all, and charging nearly 20 quid for a bit of laser cut steel. It's a bit of a joke, so I might go and get these made and offer them as a cheaper alternative. So because it doesn't need to be expensive. I very much doubt that, George. I very much doubt that indeed. Yeah, get those made. I've had the shims mass produced as well because I was going through so many of them, and not a lot of airsoft shops have shims on the shelf. Like everyone seemed to be out of stock. And I was like, this is the time when I had these 12 gearboxes to do. And I thought, you know what, let's just get them made. So I've had them manufactured. So now I've got all the DXFs and everything for the company to make them to a certain size. This is horrible. I can get them mass produced, so I can get them made in the thousands, tens of thousands. So I might offer them on the website as well, just a good pack of shims, like having perhaps like 10 or 20, maybe even more of each size. Because, you know, buying a pack of, you know, airsoft branded shims, you might get like 5 or 6 of the size that you need, and the rest are just absolutely useless. It's meant to pull back the nozzle fully before pulling out the piston head. You mean this, yeah? It definitely pulls them all the way. That's at the stop there. So that's at the stop, and if you keep pulling, it comes loose. Is that what you meant, Alistair? Sorry, Joppy. I know there was mention, I think one of the Silverback techs said that the spring rate inside the piston head was off, and that might be something that they're going to change. But I think they've got bigger fish to fry before they start messing with that spring. But the quality O-rings is nice. I'm not sure what material they've used for the nozzle O-ring, but if you are running one of these MDRs, get a couple of packs of those. It's just an occupational hazard. It was exactly the same with the Systema PTWs and the Celsius platforms. They always wear out. I mean, yeah, granted, the Systema platforms were much, you know, wear out at a much lower rate compared to their respective clones, but just get a nice coating on the piston. I'm sure George will turn that one into an innuendo. For those that have been following the channel, this is the new 1XL. And you'll see that when I started doing these gearboxes, this was already being used. And we're 4 gearboxes in. And we're just past halfway. In your rento. How you doing, George? I have missed you. Apply a bit to this cushion. We want to place this in first. It's just perfect product, honestly. There's many things that I've made available. This has probably got to be one of the most recommended that I suggest you try. But the 1XLs have gone live on the site now, so you can get the normal ones, or you can get the 1XL. Do feel free to fill up that website with all the products so I don't have to end up making multiple orders. Okay. Hey, I'll do my best. There's a lot of products I want to make for the MWS platform. Now, I do love a Tokyo Marui MWS, as I'm sure many of you that watch my videos are aware. And I've got so many ideas for high wear parts and this, that, and the other. It's just getting around to having them made and trusting manufacturers these days. But there are some bits and pieces that I want to have made. Shims is my pet peeve. I just want 100.1 and 100.2, but they're always weirdly packaged. If you want 100.1 and 100.2, you know, I can set that up on the site. Counting them is going to be a bitch because the 0.1s, oh God, they love to stick together. I feel sorry for the place where I have these manufactured. It's when I make an order, I suppose they do it by weight. I suppose that would be the easiest way to do it, but yeah, I feel sorry for them. I haven't airsofted for going on 2 years now, so either I'm properly fulfilled with life or things are just going terribly wrong. Properly fulfilled, well, that's not a bad thing at all, is it? I've seen many friends come and go from airsoft, and you know, even those that introduced or helped introduce me to it, and they're no longer doing it, and it is a shame, but I think you've just got to follow your own path, haven't you? And if you're happy in what you're doing and it's just not the thing anymore, then so be it. So let's give this one a test. Perfectly smooth. And with the PCB jumper on, it just clocks perfectly every time. What I meant is that the nozzle spring should compress first completely before the piston head spring starts compressing, because the rifle doesn't load until the nozzle has moved fully back. Okay, interesting. I do have some Systema cylinders somewhere. Let me see if I've got one. No, I've got one somewhere. Right, this isn't a Sistema one, but it is a PTW cylinder. So let's see. If I'm going to be able to get this loose because it is tight. Let's get something thick in here. Come on. This is a scrap cylinder. Let's see. See, it's the same on a PTW though. They compress at the same rate. So it starts moving together. See the pull rate on the length on that seems a bit longer, but yeah, they don't. It's not like this pulls back first and then that one pulls back secondary. It's like at the same time. But again, it could be different with the different manufacturers. This is just a cylinder that I had to hand, so I could show you. So it could be an issue that I think this is an A&K cylinder. So that could be why. I'm sure I have a PTW cylinder somewhere, but where it is, I honestly don't know. But yeah, that compresses at the same rate. And the A&K cylinders, from what I've seen, haven't been that bad. So, number 2698. What I've done, apart from laser engraving. We only have 2 to go now. It's packed a little differently. This one is to be confirmed. We'll WhatsApp you. So Jason's going to send me that one. Got a cylinder, got the little gear parcel, MOSFET, anti-reverse latch, anti-reverse latch, spring, motor cage, torque screws, gearbox screws, and MOSFET screws. And we have the last 2 casings here. So 1 and 3 has to be in sequence, not at the same time. Cylinder just shows the same issue. Laser engraved your heart and you're off. Well, thanks for popping by, George. I do appreciate it. So let's get this unwrapped. Bevel gear bearings and shims. You got an AAP 1A, Brian. James, you have a great night. Need to head to the land of sleep. Got early start tomorrow. Chat to you. Have a great night all. Thanks, Alistair, for dropping by. We're almost there anyway. I've only got 2 to go. Right, first task, getting these bearings on. Same 2 shims on the spur. It's going to require a tap. gear bearing. Same 2 shims. That one goes in nicely. Oh. Just take my jumper off, it's bloody boiling. I also purchased the AAPO1, great little pistol. I also got the Mini Mamba kit and CTM lower. Maybe went a little bit overboard with the Calico parts. Mini Mamba, love it, love mine to bits. Still have it here on the wall. Everything's going to be in reverse, don't worry about that, it's just the camera. But yeah, great little pistol. And the can't wait to get that Infinite kit rocking and rolling as a backup maybe to the MDR, who knows. Right. Let's get the spur fitted. What I might do in future if I do these lives is I might jump on there is a Jaeger Precision Discord, and then while I'm doing the live, people can drop in and chat if they want to. Might be an idea. I might need to reinstate my Streamlabs though to get that to work. This one actually spins nice and freely. Nice and smooth that is, to be honest. There's a bit of play in the spur. There's a bit of play in the sector gear as well. So let's correct that first. There's 1 and 2. I do kind of wonder what sort of first and third party parts will be made for the MDR in time. I don't know. I suppose we'll see. I am trying to find someone in the US at the moment that can help me get a Micron handguard, because I do have a really cool idea, but it requires a Micron handguard, and getting one of them from the States is an absolute nightmare. I've been speaking to a few people, a few companies over there as well, and it just seems to be very difficult to find someone that would be willing to post one over. It's definitely something to keep an eye on as a source of fee and trouble. Yeah, 100%. I think we'll keep an eye on that. Like I say, I think Silverback's working on a spring of some kind, and I know Jason mentioned it as well. So that play's taken out and still running nice and smooth, so we can go to the next stage. Can I guess this bevel gear correctly? Let's have a look at my notes. Okay, so I'm thinking 0.4. Let's get the original shim. She's there. We'll start with a 0.3. And a 0.1, so 0.4. Before we do that, let's pop the bearing in the top there. And we'll check the pinion mesh. And we are okay. Let's see if my math is correct. So 0.4 of a mil added. It's nice and smooth. Side to side play. Just under 0.1 of a mil, I think. So the perfectly measured gearbox. Let's pull these gears out. Nice bit of lube on there. Just get these fitted. Oh, no, I forgot something. Do you know how many times I've done these gearboxes and put it all together and just forgot to put the anti-reversal latch in? Oh, more than a times than I care to admit. And you'll just go to get it ready and finish it off, and it's like, oh, shit. You know, they, I think they originally intended for the MDR, the catch that goes behind the magwell, to interface with this, to have the ability to release it. And then I think they scrapped that because the active braking, like I said before, is so good that the gearbox always stops in the same place, that this just became completely redundant. Unless, I suppose, you're pre-cocking. But with this system, I just don't understand why you would pre-cock. It's going to cause you more issues than it's going to grant you ability. It'd be like trying to add pre-cocking on a system of PTW. It just doesn't make any sense. They're already fast. These are already really responsive on semi-auto. going on here? I did. I don't remember where it was mentioned. Might have been back when it was first announced, but they did say they planned that to be the functionality. Yeah, I think they just, once they'd built the gearbox and added the active braking, it just becomes an irrelevant feature. Because at no point, with the gearbox in its standard setting, let's say that is implemented and you've got that feature on your rifle, at no point you ever pressing it would it ever do anything. So they've just got the motor really torquey, the active braking good. I don't know if you noticed as well while you've been watching me build these, that some of them have the wires heat shrinked, so these sit nice and flush with black heat shrink on, and some of them don't. Again, could this go back to them being built by two different people or more? You know, who knows? We need to put the PCB jumper on that before we test it. No excess grease on the spring guide. So they did announce that it was scrapped because of the active braking. Yeah, it makes sense. It doesn't even need an anti-reversal latch. It honestly doesn't need it. Like Sistema PTWs don't have anti-reversal latches. And the only time you ever have an issue, I did have a couple in recently, which were back winding. It's either a MOSFET related issue more often than not, or it's a weak motor. But we all know how much PTWs struggle with their motors. So. Clean this out here. Here's more of that gear grease. It's like grey goop. See, you say brushless motor for PTW, they've got it, haven't they? They've hit. Here's this. What do you see wrong with that? See this? It's loose. And it flies off. So you imagine your gun firing, that comes off, gets wedged. It's going to cause an issue. So it's just not being fitted properly. I don't know why they don't glue them. But yeah, you can get the Infinity PTWs now, can't you? They're stupid money for a kit. And I know one of my friends had one, and he had to send it off to, I think he had to send it off to Sistema because there was some problem with the board or something. So if you do have an issue, it's quite a big thing. You've got to get it back to Japan. So no, thank you. There was Aries like a year or two ago were showing that they'd made a motor, a brushless motor that was that size as well. So perhaps we'll see. I mean, Aries have their own QC issues. Come on. It's another company that likes to sleep on QC, but it would be interesting to have it. I'd definitely buy an Aries kit with the brushless motors. I'm pretty sure they have split gearboxes as well. Now, if Aries are doing a cylinder the same way as this, you can guarantee that that's going to have an issue. Unless they pull some magic rabbit out of a hat. The Infinity Kit is a super cool idea, but I think there are some major downsides to it. It meant more along the lines of a normal grip motor. Oh, okay. Yeah, you see that there? That's been impacted by the gear, the sector gear. So much so that the ring's stuck. How that's been impacted by the gear, I don't know. What I imagine is it's got to have had a blockage in the barrel and the piston's stuck to the rear. There's a slight burr on that though, we're going to have to remove that. Oh, what does do me blade? There it is. Have you had a chance to check the mag compatibility with MDR? I had a PTS SR25 mag, but that does not want to fit in correctly. I think there's a few people that have done mag tests. I haven't, just because I plan to use the Silverback mags. I know of a manufacturer that does very cheap SR25P mags that are meant to fit or look like they'll fit. So perhaps I'll look into that and see if I can get some of them in. I need a foil. Because there's a nasty burr on this. Believe it or not, it's not the first time I've seen this. Did see another one with this issue. I still don't know how it's happened. I reckon it's been, in all fairness, I reckon it's been fired without the spring in, and the piston's locked back, and then they've pressed the trigger again, and the gears chomped the piston. That's what I reckon's happened. It's the only thing that makes sense. That can spin now, so that's good. Yeah, the Infinity Kit is like a dual sector gear. So you have to run like a really stupid spring. But they do sound good. You know, I have heard one be fired, and it sounds like it sounds similar to HPA. It's really weird. But yeah, the MDR mags are good. They seem to work well. It's a good design. As long as you don't have any feeding issues, I'm happy. I normally run a Marui MWS where you have 35 rounds in a mag, so 70 odd, or however many there are, I can't remember, is a blessing. go. It's locked into place. If you are working on MDR gearbox, you need to be very careful of these screws. I did have one in the other week where the guy had stripped them. Luckily, they still held pretty good. But it was like I had to mention it as soon as it was here. I was like, dude, you've stripped the threads on your gearbox casing. It shouldn't be an issue, but just so you know. We're going to nick the jumper from 510 again. Just borrow it so we can test this one. Just put the trigger board in. Let's give it a test. Sounds good. This one is an unknown serial number for the moment. I'll remember that. So, last one to go. This knows number 1510. Look at that. It's caked. Caked in grease. Who's doing this? So if I did this next time on a Discord, would you guys join in, or is that a bit too far? Talking to people in the comment sections, I suppose, is a lot easier than jumping on a live stream. Used to do these live streams with Josh at Airsmiths. Right, here we go. 6 of 6. See here where they've ground the gearbox casing, probably from the mold, to get rid of mold lines. There's actually quite a lot of grind marks, so I imagine it must be where they separate from the molds and they grind it off. Oh God, they're tight. Okay, round 6. Here we go. No notchiness, which is good. No play in the gears as well, so that was good. Number 1510 is plain easy to get. You don't show your face on Discord, Brian. It'd just be a voice. But like I say, I think I'll have to use Streamlabs again to get the audio to work. Right. See if we can get this one right. Tried and tested method. 0.4. Let's go. First, let's check the motor mesh. I think YouTube hits a broader audience and helps build a channel. Discord is more of an inside group. No, what I'm saying is I'd be streaming on YouTube, but I'd have Discord running in the background. So what that means is I'd be doing it normal like this on YouTube, but if people wanted to pop in and have a chat, it'd be a possibility. So there could be like a two-way conversation, so to speak, as well as the live chat as well. Yep, with intolerance there. Okay. So with the new 1XL, I managed to do 6 gearboxes, and the thing wasn't even full when I started using it. It was like maybe like 2/3 or half. So that's available on the website now. And that was just because there's a couple of techs that use it and they said it's great, but the normal one doesn't last a ton of time when you're doing a lot of gearbox work or a lot of gun work. Don't worry, I got you. Perfect. .5 Allen key for these screws. And you'll see here, here's another example of the wires being heat shrinked, which just makes it a bit tidier. Real good. Oh Christ, this one's tight. Jesus. Oh. It's caked. Absolutely caked. I tell you what though, for machining on these, the internal bore is just so silky smooth. It's a very hard thing to do, especially out of a piece that's one piece. Can't even grip it, there's that much grease on it. Yeah, no problem, Brian. Be perfect for your AAP as well. Hi, Richard. I don't know how much of a delay there is on YouTube, but it seems like it's quite big. the machine, the anodizing is different on the two parts. It's like a lighter blue compared to a dark blue. So those two are very similar, and then the heads are darker. See, that one's glued. It's fixed on there. Put a bit of one on it as well. Almost there. There we go. Just a quick test of this last one. It's already got a PCB jumper on there. Perfect. There we have it, number 1510. Length in a barrel would you recommend for an MWS? I want to use 3 2s, and I'm building it up to be a Mark 16 with a 14.5 out of barrel. So if you're running a 14.5 out of barrel and you want to run a barrel the whole length, I'm pretty sure you need the 370mm, is it? But barrel length compared to BB weight that you're using means absolutely nothing. You'll of course get more power out of a longer barrel. And with the MWSs, when you start going from a 0.3 to a 0.4 in that territory, you do start getting a bit of jaw creep, so you just need to keep an eye on that. Threes, I've been running most of my rifles on threes now, with both the 370s, the 250s, and anything in between. Even my short build, I run a 0.3, which has a very short barrel. It's like a 6-7 inch Geisley Mark IV round. So yeah, I've always had good results out of mine. Barrel length doesn't really mean anything. If you're running a 14.5-inch barrel, you don't really want an inner barrel that's half the length, like in the MDR-16 series. Just out of, I think, ease of use, and the last thing you would do is you want your BBs clipping anything. But it is also the easiest way if you've got a gun that's too overpowered, as what the MTR-16s probably are. It's the best way to bring the power down is by shortening the barrel. But yeah, we've done 6 gearboxes, as well as show off some cool receivers. Here's the first one I did. And for some reason, like I say, YouTube's flipping it, so this is the wrong way around. But we've still got a bit left in the 1XL, and we've done 6 gearboxes. I think when I started using it, it was about here. So probably get 10 gearboxes out of a full XL. And yeah, we've been here for 2.5, well, almost 3 hours now. I'd like to thank everyone for just tuning in. I know it's not the most gripping content out there, but I thought it was interesting enough. And you know, if I'm sat here doing it, why not get the live stream on and we can chat while we do it. So if there's no more questions, I'll give a couple of minutes just for those to come through, but we'll probably call it there for tonight. I do love myself an apple tango. No worries, Stu. First time messing about with the GBBR. It's the best GBBR out there by far, the Maru series. There's plenty of MWS videos on the channel. Go check them out. And there should be a AKM coming soon, so we'll obviously do some videos on that AKM as well. Right then, I'm going to call it a night there. I have some videos going up as usual from tomorrow. Like all the guides you make, always good to get some information, increase knowledge. Any point you want me to do a certain video on anything that I've shown, just let me know and I'll try and cover it. But I'm going to call it there. Videos going up from next week or tomorrow. Videos as usual. If you want more live streams, just let me know in the comments and in the comments of my other videos as well. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a good evening.